A few U.S. Supreme Court decisions have been making headlines this week. No doubt you've heard a little bit about this. Ed Herman of Brown & Crouppen joins us to talk about this whole issue, how it could affect you, and notably your kids, too. Ed, welcome back.
That's good to be back.
So the state of California, once upon a time, not long ago, signs into law a bill that initially, when you hear about it, sounds like it's based on sound principle, which is, let's take any video game that's extra gory, that is extra perverted, all in the eye of the beholder here, obviously, but take anything that's in that category and ban the sale to children, to minors, right?
Right. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said eyes of the beholder, because what the Supreme Court, they shot down this law. They said it was unconstitutional.
Right.
And what they basically had to decide was two things. One, are video games a protected form of artistic expression? Should they be afforded First Amendment protection? And it was, I think, pretty easy for them to conclude, yes, they should be. I think most people have accepted that they're a unique art form, you know, whether you like them or not. And then the second thing they had to decide was there a legitimate public health interest to limit their commercial, you know, their free speech, which you have to be able to show if you're going to put a restriction on somebody's free speech. So all of the evidence that was presented suggested every study done, even though this is counterintuitive, this goes against all of our guts, said that there was no evidence to support that playing violent video games led to violent or antisocial behavior amongst children. So the court, in a 7-2 decision, banned the law. So what do parents do about it? Well, this goes back to the typical, you know, parents have to make the decisions of what their child is going to be exposed to.
Sure.
We're already deciding what television shows they can watch. We're already deciding what movies they can go to, maybe even the books that we feel are appropriate for them to read. And I think most people are aware of the fact that you got to be looking at these video games closely. Personally, I hate the violent video games. I wouldn't let my son play them. But once you support a law that bans them, you know, I hate to use the expression slippery slope because it's overused, but it can become troublesome. This would be like if HBO was going to be fined $1,000 every time somebody under the age of 17 happened to catch an R-rated film at home. And when you think of it like that, you think, well, that's kind of crazy. That would just prevent people from making a lot of movies that are quite entertaining. So that's what that decision was about.
So the Supreme Court has stated it 7-2, hands down, a majority. Another interesting issue that hits home with you and your law firm, too. The Supreme Court recently ruled that if you're taking a generic version of a prescription drug and you suffer some unease because of that, you cannot, in a state court, sue the generic drug maker?
Yeah, this one actually is far more important to consumers, because this week your civil liberties were stripped away in a pretty significant manner. And like you say, what it means is this: if you were taking a generic version of a drug, and because of their failure to warn you about possible side effects, you suffer, you know, injury or death, you can no longer sue a generic manufacturer. Now, here's where it's interesting, Matt. Let's say I took the actual brand name of the drug. I took Tylenol, and you took just over-the-counter acetaminophen. Same exact drug. We both wind up with liver failure, which is, you know, one of the side effects of taking acetaminophen. I still have a claim against Tylenol that could be worth 6 figures, 7 figures, whatever the extent of my damages are. You could have that exact same problem and have no legal remedies. And the extra hard part there is that 75% of drugs that are prescribed in this country, they dispense a generic form of it.
Yeah, right.
So that means 75% of the people taking a medicine out there just had their legal rights stripped away from them this week in a 5-4 decision by the Supreme Court.
That's a huge decision. And they're not going to hear this again unless there's some very different case.
Well, now what has to happen is the legislature has to go back and fix this. The court, even in their 5-4 decision, some of the people who voted in favor of not allowing you to pursue the generics kind of felt like their hands were tied because of the way the law was written, which, you know, you hope that they go back and maybe rewrite it. But when you consider that your health insurance company a lot of times requires you to take the generic if it exists and not pay for the brand name drug, they may be affecting more than your medicine now. They may be affecting your civil rights.